Hello, everybody. Welcome to Moment of Clarity viewer questions. I'm going to go through some of your questions this week, which if you leave comments into the thread there, I'll try and get to some of them, and I'll also be talking about my new book here at the end. But let's get into it. So this is a response to my my moment of clarity on France, the French protests going on, the general strike, and ongoing protest against Macron's forcing of pension changes. He wants to make people work longer before they get their pensions because it's the continued pillaging of the workers across the world by the ruling elite and the rich as fuck. Rich as fuck is a economic term which I will not define here and now. Hillary, it also is about Hillary, by the way, that segment, because I talked about both. I talked about Hillary Clinton's fucking idiot comments on the Howard Stern show, which, by the way, look, not that I have a problem with him saying these things, but have we really gotten to the point that so-called politicians, so-called respectable politicians just go on the show of a guy who, had little people dressed in thongs on for years while he yelled at them to show their pussies to him? Like, that's the respectable journalism now. Let's get a politician. Yeah, you running for president? I mean, let's hope fucking Hillary doesn't run for president. But hey, you running for president? Come on the show. This guy, he had a stripper here yesterday, and she stuck a comb up her bleep. And today he's gonna interview John Kerry. The fuck is going on around here? Anyway, that wasn't really the point. This is Patrick Jean, and responding to that, and he says, "I'm a French expatriate, and I second that," meaning what I said, I guess. We have it in our blood. Though, revolution. I don't see the U.S. doing the same ever. So he means the French have revolution in their blood. We also were kind of founded on a revolution. We don't quite have it in our blood because it's been kind of beaten out of us more. But, you know, we used to have a lot of revolution. People used to stand up and get angry. But he's right that in the U.S., you don't have that. And there's multiple reasons for it. I think we have better bread in circuses. Our bread in circuses is kind of more entertaining. Our bread does more backflips. Our circuses taste better. I think I got those backwards. No. Our bread is wildly entertaining. And no, so some of that, I think people are already beaten down and working harder in the U.S. To achieve what so many consider to be the American dream, you know, and so when you're working incredibly hard, you don't have time to stand up and get angry and fight back, and that's by design. We've been carefully atomized, separated into our tiny little isolation chamber houses with our white picket fence so that we don't actually know our community. We don't actually coordinate, work with, help out friends and family. I mean, maybe we know our families a little bit, but extended family, not really. And so we've been carefully separated, split up, broken apart, because it's tough for people that are broken apart and separated to stand up and fight back. Again, that's by design. We've been better trained to seek out things that are, financial gain and consumerism, and we're too busy fighting to get shoes to try and get health care. We've been corrupted kind of that way. It's been kind of a corruption of the mindscape. And we also have put more people in prison than any other country. So when you take people that are perhaps the ones that are willing to push the edges, willing to not behave in the standard, I go to work and then I go home and then I watch TV and repeat. Meh. When they're less willing to do that, they tend to push against the law a little bit more because the law is meant to kind of keep everybody in their standard operating procedure that is allowable for the corporate state. So those people tend to end up in prison more. So you take all those people, you put all of them in prison, millions of people, and then they're unable to stand up, right? And then when you've had movements that have stood up, have fought back, like the Black Panthers, like the yippies, political, hippies that actually became activists, they were carefully infiltrated, assassinated, arrested, beaten down, destroyed financially. Many of the Black Panthers were straight up assassinated, like Fred Hampton. And so those movements have all been destroyed, and I obviously didn't go through most of them. So yeah, the U.S. has really just done a better job of making sure people can't get together, work together, fight together, and we gotta keep trying. Guys can't give up, gotta keep going. Trying to change things so that people can live a normal, happy life rather than being gutted and struggling for scraps. Let's see, this is a response to the Google censorship episode I did with Miriam Hadane, sorry. And this is Matthew DX. So I don't exactly remember what was every word that was said in the interview. I do remember that at one point Miriam brought up vaccination. I don't remember her exact comment, so I can't comment on what Matthew DX is responding to, but I'll just read it. Herd immunity is literally the opposite of what this person seems to think it is. The whole point is not that everyone needs to get vaccinated. It's precisely that if enough people get vaccinated, it protects the people who can't or won't get vaccinated, and then they're protected, all are protected from an epidemic by everyone else. And I think that sounds very accurate on the vaccination issue. Again, this is one of these annoying things I do where I have some nuance on an issue and it pisses everyone off. I certainly understand the need for vaccines in general. I think some of them are incredibly important. Vaccines, certain vaccines, specific vaccines have saved millions of lives. So I'm not just like, all vaccines are bad. I also believe that the system of required vaccines that we have now given over to has become somewhat corrupted by Big Pharma. I mean, these are panels of people that know that if they get a vaccine on this list of mandatory vaccines, you're talking billions of dollars, an insane amount of money. So do we need vaccines? Absolutely. Do we need every vaccine that's on the mandatory vaccine list, which I don't even know what they all are, but I know that I've talked to parents that are like, it's like 26 of them or whatever the fuck. Do we need them all? Absolutely not. Which is which? That's not up for me to decide. I'm not going to act like I know specific vaccines and the scientific or medical need for each one, but that is my nuance, and people hate it because they want to view everything in black and white, but vaccines important. The way we do them now, run by Big Pharma, largely is not a good way to do it, and it can be really fucked up. So there you go. And then this is a response to, because we were, in that episode, we were talking about the Google censorship and the leaked documents that came from, I believe his name was Zach Voorhees, and Math UDX. Brilliant statement, Math. If that's your name, Math, I don't know. Lee, why don't you just get that Google whistleblower on the show to talk about their censorship techniques? Oh my God, that's a great idea. And that's why I did. Why don't you watch every episode? I had him on a month or two back. All right. Asshole. No, I'm kidding. Let's see. This is Liquid Girl, maybe? What is a good alternative search engine to Google? She's talking about? Girl. I'm guessing she. A good alternative. There is Startpage is good in terms of protecting your data, as far as I know. DuckDuckGo, I think, is pretty good, but it's pretty good, I think. And then there's Ecosia, is that how you pronounce it, which plants trees when you search, but they're powered by Bing, so I'm assuming you're probably getting the same shit you get from Bing. But yeah, there are, I think Startpage is probably the most secure, but because these things are not as big and powerful as Google, they don't generally give you the as good search results. So, and that's by design. It's if something's great, if something works really well, we use it, right? Like, hey, our Fitbit really does tell me whether I've taken a certain number of steps each day. It tells me whether I'm, jacking off too hard. And it's like, slow down. So therefore, Fitbit's great. Yeah, these things work. That's why people get them. And then they're also tracking you. So Google is quite good at providing search result material. And they're tracking you or whatever. They're, manipulating the results. So it's, you can use the other page. I try and use the other page as much as I can. Usually DuckDuckGo or Startpage. Some of the time with certain things, you're probably not going to find what you need until you go over to Google. And then with other things, if you want to search about something even slightly controversial, if you want to search about something the FBI did or CIA did, absolutely don't use Google, because Google is purposefully pushing those things down the list because they don't want you to know about the reality of our situation, the reality of how our system works. So, you're looking for old documents on CIA wrongdoing, incredibly hard to find on Google. And then you search for DuckDuckGo and you second page or whatever. Okay, let's see. This is last one. U.S. greenlights Israeli destruction. So this was, I believe, something Anders Lee did, a segment Anders Lee did on the U.S. is saying now that settlements are not illegal, that the Israeli settlements, which are designed, they're not settlements, that's a euphemism, right? They're the stealing of more land from Palestinians, literally bulldozing homes, putting in Israelis so that they can continue to take away whatever land remains from Gaza, from places in Palestine. So it is these settlements are a continued destruction of the Palestinian way of life, or they're in refugee camps now for all intents and purposes. So, So it's, way of life probably wasn't the right term. Their way of life was fucked up long ago. Anyway, Sandra C. Says, anyone else feel there's a lot more pro-Israel trolls out to waste everybody's time? Feels like they got a raise while Google was out censoring Press TV and similar alternative media outlets. They really want anyone who's still in the dark to stay in the dark. I don't know whether the pro-Israel trolls have gotten worse, but I will say that on a lot of these topics, on Israel, on Monsanto, on what's another good one? It's very clear when I post a video on certain topics that there is a fucking barrage of trolldom that comes down on me, and they're paid people combined with people that the paid people get to follow them, and so they create this wave of trolls that will come after anybody who speaks out. And this is how it started with GMOs. Back when I was talking about GMOs years ago, every time you put one up about that, they fucking wave of trolls because they were getting paid. Oh, big oil's another one. When you're trying to reveal the crimes of big oil, they'll often come after you. I think 5G is another one that's starting up. They're getting the troll farms really going well. So, hey, if you aren't saying anything important, then no one attacks you, right? So there you go. The new book is out for pre-order, and actually the first one should ship in the first few weeks of January. So we're very close to that. We're almost to the point that you can buy the book and actually not pre-order it. But anyway, a limited number of signed copies and hardback copies are available. Those are in the U.S. only, but there is a UK site as well. That's all at leecampbook.com. I cover a lot of ground. I cover our U.S.-backed coups. I cover the $21 trillion missing at the Pentagon. I cover New York Times propaganda, Washington Post propaganda, our invasion, or whatever you want to call it, our sanctions and attempted destruction of Iran and Syria and so much more. It's all in there, and it's a combination of comedy and politics. I don't know if you know that. I do that kind of thing. And it's at leecampbook.com. It's called Bullet Points and Punchlines, and it's got an intro by Jimmy Dore and a foreword by Chris Hedges. Check it out and keep fighting.